I feel I should say something, and occasionally I do comment on things that appear in the paper or on the television, and I think this is worth mentioning. I, I listen to C-SPAN quite frequently, and I listen to these professors and these so-called smart people in their study groups, and they're consistently talking about the world. They're not only planning things and trying to figure out what's going to happen here in the United States, but they think they're smart enough to figure out everything that's going to happen in the world. In other words, they have their little planning committees and the committees that explore what's going on in Iraq and so forth. And apparently these people, these study groups, they have a way of influencing the government. So it is put forth to us that they do. But I think that they're just, when they have these little study groups, they're just mouthing and what the government has already determined that must be done. Anyway, today I put it on a DVD. This particular group, it was, let me see, what was the name of it? It was a panel against the avian flu and the global response, HIV, and the global response to that, and pandemic flu. That was the discussion. I'm not sure that was the title of it. I put it here someplace on paper, but it escapes me right now. And the people participating in this panel, the moderator was named Stephen Morris, and he was from the Center for Strategic and something kind of studies. And so they were studying about Asian flu, H5N1, and the global response to that and to HIV. Now their focus was mostly on Africa. Now they stated that they intended or they had collected $470 million to prepare for this pandemic that they say is most certainly going to come. They're planning for it just as feverishly as they can. The bird flu, as a matter of fact, I was astonished to learn that they had already destroyed 220 million birds. They either died or had been killed, had been weeded out. And they talked about Tamiflu. There's one of the drugs that they're going to use for the H5N1 virus. And they discussed these various ideas. Well, what came to my mind is that the very people that are doing, predicting this bird flu pandemic and the HIV virus is going to kill so many people, that they have a part in planning and to make sure that it does occur. Now, if I were in any place and these people wanted to force me, or certainly if they asked me to volunteer to take their shots, I wouldn't do it. They're so certain that it's going to happen. How could they know unless they're the ones that's going to cause it to happen? And I believe that the only reason we don't have a pandemic today is because many people don't trust them nor their shots. The only way I believe that they're going to get a pandemic of any type is that they have enough people that will go down and take their shots. Now, there's been discussions as to what to do concerning those people that don't volunteer to take the shots. There has been some discussion as to forcing people to take the shot, quarantining people. Now, this is something that has never happened. But they're certain that we're going to have a pandemic of bird flu, H5N1. And so I would just caution you, if they know for sure that it's going to happen, then they must be the ones that's going to make it happen. And I just wish I had a chance to talk to the people in Africa. I think that they're planning genocide for the people of Africa. They're not concerned about giving them food. They are concerned about them taking shots for something that has not happened. And if the people in Nigeria is number one on their list, if the government of Nigeria allow these people to come in and give them shots in anticipation of H5N1 bird flu, they can rest assured that they are going to have a pandemic. Just like they did Ebola. Ebola stopped when the people stopped going to the hospital and taking shots. Now, it doesn't take very much sense to understand that there is a relationship between the shots, the inoculations, and the medications and the sickness. And so I think that most people in the United States, at least I hope, are smart enough that they don't fall for this scam by these evil people that'll put aspartame in your food, will irradiate your food. And so much so that, you know, I listen to Radio Free Austin and those people on that program, and they call it Rumsfeld disease, because he's the one responsible for putting the aspartame in the many foods that it's in, and it is not good. And folks, I've got to say this. The people have said, do your own research, that they want you dead. You can tell they want you dead because the doctors don't heal you anymore. You can become a patient for life. If you start going to the doctor wants the money, the doctor wants you to be a patient. So he wants you to be his patient. So if they'll give you medication that we know has harmed people, and there are people that have died from Viagra and all the other, you know what I'm talking about. And oh, they just made a mistake. Well, the people are dead. Who's accountable? Who's going to be accountable if you let your children take these shots and they die? And they come up with these, well, I started to say lies, maybe I will say lies, that the children, when they took their shot and they died, well, it was baby shaking syndrome. You must have shook your baby. Okay. All kinds of excuses that don't even make sense. They want you to sign a paper to saying that if you, I remember when my last child was born, that I went into the doctor's office. I'm not going to call his name. But he told me that he wanted to give a series of shots, you know, the normal shots to my child, and I told him no. And then he told me, and said, well, now before that he told me that you need to sign this paper here. And before, I want to give your child a shot, but you need to sign this paper. And I read the paper, and the paper was saying that he couldn't be held responsible if the child had an adverse response. He said about 1% or 2% of the children that get this shot